Hey guys, how's it going? I'm out in the greenhouse getting ready to start 5 different types of seed, one for the cut flower garden and the rest are for flower beds and spring containers. First off, we've got Lizianthus, which is a slow growing flower for our cut flower garden, but an amazing performer. So I've got Dublini White and a Roseanne Deep Brown. I've got 3 different types of ornamental kale here, which will be used in spring containers. We've got Crane Red, Crane Pink, Crane White, and then we've got the Pansy Swiss Giant, which I'll just do 1 tray of those. I had these left over from last year's bulb container project that didn't pan out very well for me. So we're gonna try again. Magic Fountain Delphinium, wonderful perennial. I grew this one last year and I loved it, so I wanted to grow a few more. And then Green Globe Artichokes, which I will probably be tucking into flower beds, maybe into my raised beds in the vegetable garden. So I know it seems way too early to be starting really anything from seed, but these particular varieties need to be started in order to be ready once I'm ready to plant them outside. Like I said, Lizianthus is the slowest growing flower I have ever grown. I did it for the first time last year, started in mid-January, and by the time I was ready to plant them out in June, the plants were only about this big. But they were such an amazing performer that I decided it was worth the effort and time it takes them to get from seed to blooming stage. Then of course the cabbage and pansies I'm going to use in early spring containers. I'm pushing it with the pansies. I don't know if they're going to be quite ready yet when I'm ready to use them, but the kale, I think it's a great time for that. The delphiniums take 10 to 16 weeks, and usually I seed them in a tray and then I have to bump them up to a 4-inch size container, and at that point I move them from indoors out into this cold frame where they can grow on a little bit more, and then usually they're hardened off enough to plant them out a little bit early if I can. Even if I have to bump the artichokes up in container size, I'm totally willing to do that, because if I can get them kind of beefy and big, then I have a much more, like a much higher chance of them forming an artichoke the first season, which I had it happen last year. It was amazing, and I was so sad because I went out and I was messing with the plant. I was looking at it, I discovered this cute little artichoke, and I was trying to take a picture of it and I accidentally popped the artichoke off the plant. So I didn't even get to eat it. I'm not going to do that this year. Will not sacrifice artichokes for pictures this year. And the planting part is pretty straightforward. I've showed you guys this in a lot of different videos, but I will show you the supplies I'm going to use. And I decided to do it out here in the greenhouse, contain most of the mess outside, then I'll move them into the studio underneath grow lights. But I also want to talk a little bit about how I have myself organized in terms of schedule, like knowing what to plant at what time. And I just find that the more organized I can be, the less confusion there is, and I'm less likely to accidentally miss planting something. And this is it in terms of supplies. Of course, they're the seeds, and then I've got my plant tags. They look like wood, but they're plastic, which I recommend plastic or metal for sure in containers like this, because we're gonna put a dome on, and there's gonna be so much moisture and humidity. Whenever I use real wood or popsicle sticks or whatever, they just get molded and the marker wears off. These are my seed trays. They're part of the seed starter kit from Gardener Supply. They have a self-watering reservoir on the bottom, which I'll show you once we're inside. I love these things. Of course, they're only 24 cell, but I'm not growing flowers to sell them. I'm growing them for the enjoyment of it and to give them away. So I don't find myself, except for a couple of different varieties, like I like to grow a ton of snapdragons, so I'll usually start with a 72 count tray for those. But for most everything else, I love this size because I plant them in here and then I never have to bump them up into a bigger size. I just let them stay here until I'm ready to plant outside. That way I eliminate an entire step of planting, and really it eliminates a lot of extra space I would need under grow lights, which, you know, by the time I get everything planted, I don't have any extra space. I've got some seed starter mix, some leftover seed starter mix from the other day that I'll use up, Vermiculite, which I'll be using on top of the delphiniums and Lizianthus. And then I do have this potting tray right here where I do all of my work. It catches all of the excess soil so I don't waste any. We'll try to find a link for that and link it down below, as well as the other stuff. And before my hands get too dirty with planting, I thought we would go over my organization system. I've got my calendar and my computer out here. Okay, I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see this, so we might just put a screenshot up on the screen. But I've got a spreadsheet here with a cut flower garden seeding schedule. So I have like it broken up between if I need to sow it indoors, so that's this first section. And if you scroll way down, this is a direct sow section, so I know that this is the stuff I can just plant straight outside. But going back to the top, you can see the first column is flower type, the variety, what color it is, the sow schedule, so it'll tell me whether or not, like it says here, the asters need to be sown 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost. go down. Delphiniums 10 to 16 weeks before last frost, and so forth. And then I keep notes as to when I planted everything last year. And then there's a column for bloom season. So I've got pretty much all of the important information I need on this spreadsheet, and I can add to it or take stuff away if I find that it's not important. It's completely customizable depending on how you organize and what makes sense to you, but I did take it a step further this year because I am due to have a baby in a week or less at this point, and I have no idea how this spring is going to go, and so I thought any way I can do this so that I have multiple reminders around me is probably a good idea. And that's where the calendar comes in. So I've got Florette's beautiful calendar right here, and if we flip to January, you can see that I have made notes. So I went through my spreadsheet, I figured out everything that I need to sew at specific times, and then I kind of gave myself a little window. So like right now I know that I need to sew all the stuff I'm going to do today, and you can give or take, you know, 5 to 7 days on these. Just I know that I need to have them planted around the 9th of January. So moving on to February, and look at that picture. Oh, when everything looks like that, this is very welcome. You can see that I have a couple more notes, and I have them spanned over the course of these 2 weeks. So like any time within these 2 weeks in February, I need to get these things started. March is a busy one. So March, I actually have a list of things that I can sow outside as soon as the soil can be worked. So I have that kind of off to the side. These are the things I can start inside, and then I've got more I can start inside toward the end of the month. Okay, we're into April. Got a couple for that month. And then of course once you get to May, we're pretty much just at direct sowing the warm season stuff. My mind works in written lists and visual things like that are just like paper. I like paper and pencils and lists that way, and that's just how I operate. I do everything on the computer because Aaron does operate that way too, and that way I can share my schedule with him and he can see it, and it does help me to do the lists in several different areas so that I'm less likely to miss stuff. But I just thought that this would be nice to have up on the wall somewhere, and I could just be mindful of like, hey, it looks like there's a little sticky note on this weekend. Maybe I need to think about starting some of those things. It doesn't mean I have to start everything on that day, but I just know around that time I need to get those flowers started. So we'll see if that helps me out this year. Now let's plant. I'm gonna start by pre-moistening a bunch of seed starting mix. I'm gonna load up all of my trays, get all of my tags ready, and then I'm going to seed each individual tray, kind of an assembly line style. It goes way quicker that way. All the trays are filled with pre-moistened seed starting mix. They're all labeled, so we just have to plant them and water them in, and then we'll take them inside. So I wanted to start with the 2 different types that I'm going to be using vermiculite with. So first off, we have delphiniums. And let me tell you, one of the reasons I like to order from Johnny's is all the information that they include on the packet, starting with the seed count, which not everybody does that. And I find that very helpful in terms of planning, because I like to use these 24 count trays. Well, 50 seeds basically will fill up this whole tray, because I always do at least 2 seeds per cell. And then on the back, tons of information. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put a couple seeds on the top of each one of these cells, and then we're going to cover them lightly with vermiculite. And that is what vermiculite looks like. It helps maintain moisture levels, and it also helps with things like damping off like fungal things, and it prevents algae. We have done a video about vermiculite and perlite and kind of their different uses. We'll link that down below if you're interested, but it's been a game changer using this. And then with our Lizianthus, we're actually not supposed to cover up the seed because light is needed for germination. So I'm going to use the very lightest layers of vermiculite because I find that that's still okay and the light still makes it to the seed. And I did have some algae growth on the top of my soil last year with my Lizianthus, and I want to avoid that this year. And then for the other 3 types, we just sow them normally. So the kale goes 1/4 inch deep, pansies go 1/8 of an inch deep, and the artichokes go roughly between 1/4 and 1/2 inch deep. I think I did 1/4 inch deep last year. Anyway, let's get them all in the soil. Lizianthus seeds are so small that they have to come in a vial, and they're pelletized, so you can see the seed a little bit easier. And you can see with the Lizianthus, with the Vermiculite, I just put a very light layer. If you get in close, you can still see the little yellow seed right in there. And I'll probably add a little bit more Vermiculite once the seedlings have emerged. As opposed to the Delphinium, like it actually calls for a legitimate layer of Vermiculite over the top of the seed, so that one's a little bit thicker. And then on the rest of them, just plain. So I'm going to move all of these under some grow lights, and usually that's not necessary until the seedling has germinated. Although I typically, when I plant mine, I just go ahead and put them underneath the grow lights and make sure that the grow lights are on so that if a seedling does emerge, it's got the proper light. But in some cases, like with the Lizianthus, they need light in order to germinate. So it's very important that they get put under the grow light straight away. And then in terms of any kind of special care, the delphiniums, of course, I think I already mentioned, usually you let them grow about 6 to 8 weeks after they've germinated. Then you bump them up into a larger size pot, move them to a cooler location, let them grow on. The pansies and artichokes, you just let them do their thing inside until you're ready to harden them off and put them outside, which usually the harden off period is about a week or so. You kind of slowly introduce them to cooler temperatures. The kale is going to be interesting because I do believe it takes some drop in temperature in order for color to emerge. So I'm hoping that I got these in early enough to where the temperatures are still cool enough to get some good color when they come outside. So usually you let them germinate and then you want to move them to a cooler location, like right around 60 degrees, to let them grow on a little bit. So I think I'm going to try doing that out here in the cold frame. I'll let them start in the studio. We keep it, right now it's just under 70, so it's not really warm, but I still think it's a little bit too warm for the kale, so I'm just going to kind of play with that one and see what happens. And then as far as the Lizianthus goes, it's good to keep them in a spot that's not going to get over 85, which I don't think most of us have those kind of conditions, not this early anyway, and not in our homes. Most of us don't set our temperatures that high. I would die right now, especially if it was 85 in our house. And I grew Lizianthus just with our normal, we usually keep it at like anywhere from 68 to 70 degrees in our house, and everything did great last year in that sort of condition. Okay, so I'm going to move all of these into the grow lights. I'm going to mist them all with my little hand mister, put the domes on top, and that's all I have to do today. Pretty easy. And there they are, underneath grow lights. They've all been watered in. I used my spray bottle right there, put some domes over the top to help maintain moisture levels until they germinate. And I will keep the lights just about 4 inches or so above the canopy of the leaves, and then those can raise as the plants grow. Also, these are the self-watering reservoirs right here. I don't fill up the reservoir until I get germination, and I feel like the plants have developed enough of a root system to reach a little bit further down in their cells. At that point, I will fill the self-watering reservoirs, and I will get days and days between having to water these things, which is awesome. And some things like the Lizianthus here kind of prefer to be watered from underneath anyway, instead of overhead. Also, real quick update on my herb seeds. We've got dill up, 3 out of the 4 parsleys are up. All of the basil, all of the thyme came up. This cell dried out a little bit. You can still see a little bit of green. I think it'll be fine, but it's a little bit behind now. All the lemon balm's up, and all the oregano and all the sage have come up. Success. All right, so now all I have to do is clean up the mess that I left out here in the greenhouse. I went through one 16-quart bag of seed starting mix to fill up all 6 of those trays, and then just a few handfuls of vermiculite. A small bag of vermiculite really stretches quite a long distance. And I'll be checking those trays every single day for water. It's likely I won't have to water them every day, just because those domes hold in so much moisture. I think oftentimes seedlings have issues because people water them too much. So it's just something that I'll have to gauge. And then when I do go in to have this baby, which could be any day now, my mom will be here. She's gonna come and check on all my seedlings and all of the stuff that I currently have going on right now, which is not a lot, thankfully, but it does feel fun to have some things going in there. And now I can go into my spreadsheet and indicate the date that I planted all of those different things so that next year I know what I did this year. So anyway, that is it for today's project. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Oh, there's Russell. I was beginning to doubt he was going to make an appearance today. I hope you're having a great week, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.